Welcome to the Better Outcomes podcast, where we discuss all things leadership, sales, and communication in Australian business. At Better Outcomes Training, we provide world-class training solutions for businesses who want to arm their teams with cutting-edge skills to lead better, sell better, and enjoy more success, purpose, and profit from the work they do. For a full breakdown of all the courses we offer, visit www.better-outcomes.com.au. There's also a link in the description. Now, on to today's podcast. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a better... He's done it again. He's stuck the intro again. That's two in a row.
Let's go.
Better Outcomes Training podcast. I'm Craig. I'm having a bit of a morning here on a Sunday morning. I've got Paul Harrison opposite me. Paulie, how are you?
Good to see you, my man. Folks, it's great to be here Sunday morning, ready to rock and roll. We're doing it while all the other podcasts are still in bed, yeah? We're doing it.
Yeah, because the other podcasters were out last night with the social life and not asleep like me at 8:30.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there, mate, but well done. Yeah, well done.
Out cold after another big day on the tools. And got soaked. What's with the Melbourne weather? The sun was out at lunchtime, and then 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'm standing boots full of water. It was just... Anyway, I digress. How was your week, Paul?
It was good. It was intense. I was training some emerging leaders on Tuesday, and then some people who wanted to be able to influence and persuade at a higher level on Wednesday, which was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You know, again, coming away from training where you've just had people who are so open to learning, it's really what makes it makes my work so enjoyable. I do love what I do, but it was absolutely phenomenal. And then had some meetings with prospective clients and some more dates booked in, which has been awesome. So I think we're sitting at capacity of about 60% for 2025 now. So about 60% of those dates, I've got like a sort of a minimum level I want to deliver at, and 60% of those dates are booked already, which is awesome, which is absolutely awesome. And we're going to continue to evolve and build world-class communicators, world-class salespeople, and world-class leaders. So there we go.
Wow, that's awesome. 60% full already. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. How about yourself, man? How was the week?
Big week on the tools again.
Yeah.
And we seem to be pretty constant at the moment. So it's good teaching these, get some good opportunities. It's a little bit slower this week, still quite full. So give me good time to teaching you guys a little bit more bits and pieces about, just the little things. You can get the job. All the big stuff's reasonably easy, but then you get into the smaller little details about making things easier and thinking about yourself down the line. So beautiful. Just those little things.
You're a sage of wisdom, my brother. The sage of wisdom.
Yes. And I'm able to deliver it in such a precise way sometimes too.
But, sometimes even without swearing. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Just say yes. Just be agreeable.
Let's go with that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Maybe.
Hey, I got to tell you something as well. I got a comment this week, which was absolutely crazy. There's somebody who'd seen our podcasts a few times, and but we'd never met before, but she was at one of my classes, and she goes, you're taller than I thought you would be. So I don't know what's with Zoom. It's like everybody thinks we're shorter because we're sitting down. I thought you were shorter than you really are. It's like, okay, cool. Maybe I must do a Google search to see if Zoom reduces your height.
Well, that's not something I need. I'm already short. Maybe I'll just adjust the camera. Maybe I'll sit like that.
Maybe there's a setting for that.
Yeah, that's right. Wow. Please don't be disappointed when you meet me. It's you'll be looking at one of the most normal common people around, I would suggest. So
that's why the paparazzi misses you, bro. That's why the paparazzi.
That's right. Yes, that's why they misses us. It's true. Now, speaking of building better salespeople, today I'd like to talk about handling objections, obstacles as a salesperson.
Yeah.
Which has got to be one of the most common problems, common issues that salespeople face.
Yeah.
All different types of obstacles, all different types of objections. And I also want to focus on how important handling those are up front, because they have a lot. If in my opinion, if you don't like diffuse them or handle them correctly, it's really going to affect your ability to close. So that's what I want to get around today, Paulie. As per usual, we'll start off with the basics, and we'll start off with defining obstacles and objections in terms of a sales.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Fantastic. Well, I really like these points, and they are issues that come up a lot. But again, as salespeople, and particularly when I'm focusing on training salespeople, great salespeople will minimize those objections. And what we can do is we can get into exactly where objections come from and how to deal with them. Because I think when we understand where they come from, then we can reverse engineer this and how to deal with them. And then obstacles, I think, is probably where we can start, because obstacles, if I'm looking at a prospective client, and let's say we're talking big ticket items here, you've got maybe a hit list, a list of people, your dream list, let's say. So you've maybe got anywhere from 10 to 50 prospects that you want to work on for the year. I think that would be more of a strategic type of approach. We can talk about tactics, and when I say tactics, it's things to say, things to do in the short term with objections, but certainly obstacles we can start with. Obstacles would be certainly the way I'm thinking about it anyway, the way I'm framing it up, is if I'm looking at a prospective client, is like, what potentially would be an obstacle for me working with this client? And then I need to figure out effectively, is it going to be worth my while going after this? Because there could be some obstacles. And where am I going to get my best return on my time invested? And something else I like to say to my clients is, when I'm training them, I always want them to to close every deal that they're prospecting on. That's what I want. But the chances are of that actually happening, it's not going to happen. Why? Because there's going to be some clients who are a better fit for you than others. Okay. So at the very least, if we're not going to close every deal, I want you picking your target or picking your prospects we can go after. And I want you getting a return on your time invested. And that very much is going to be focusing, I think, from a macro point of view with regards to the obstacles that we're going to face. So let's say that I am selling flower arranging services. I probably wouldn't go out and target a cladding company to sell my wares to, because, and I'm at the risk of being stereotypical here, but, and for anybody who's listening, I might not think there's a huge demand for my products or services in that industry. So that would be a massive obstacle. It's going to be an issue that is not going to give me a great return on my time invested. So, and actually, cuz I got to tell you this is one of the biggest problems I see in business, because obviously with training, you get to see, one of the many reasons we love what we do is you get to see so many different challenges across so many different industries and sectors. And I got to tell you this, one of the biggest strategic mistakes I see with businesses as a whole, not salespeople now, but they are not refining who their ideal target audience is. Mm. So if you are really refining down a target audience, it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for you to be able to sell to that target audience. And I'll give you an example here. There's a client of mine that I spoke to last week, and she works for an insurance brokerage. Okay, she works for an insurance brokerage. And they have particular clients who are high risk. This is professional indemnities. Okay, so professional insurances for brokers, accountants, lawyers, stuff like that. And she has some target audiences, some clients that are at very high potential for legal claims against them, like conveyancing, that type of stuff. Maybe more complex business advice. And then she has some clients that are nearly at no exposure of risk, or have a very low exposure of risk. Now, to get very technical, and folks, I hope this makes sense, but those clients who are at run a high degree of risk of being sued, or a professional indemnities claim, they will very often carry a high excess with them. So there will be big insurance cover, but they'll also have a very high excess, because of course there's a high possibility of actually a claim being made against them. But then she has people who've got very, very low risk exposure as well. And she's now partnered up with a underwriter who is extremely lean on the premiums, but so they get good premium prices, but effectively they are they don't want to write a lot of risk. So effectively, a lot of exposure. So effectively, if she can now go to companies that have a low degree of being sued, those risks are going to be a lot more appealing to the actual underwriter. So it's matching up our unique selling points, what we have as a strength as our business relationships, like between broker and underwriter and target audience, or what we can provide as a business as our unique selling points. And those unique selling points need to be able to align with what the client's after. So let's say if I just wanted to go out and sell tractors. Okay, tractors is a broad example here, and it's a generic example. I could say, okay, who do I want to sell tractors to? And one of the answers maybe could be farmers. But then if I'm looking at the motivating factors of farmers, some of them are probably going to be more inclined to pay a higher amount of money for a tractor, because there's going to be some benefit on the back end, like you won't have to replace this, and it does it provides a great great groove in the ground or whatever it is, versus the shorter term, more transactional purchases. So I think being able to step back and have a look at, okay, who is my ideal target audience here? Yes, we've got a section here, we've got a niche. I hope this makes sense. We've got a niche, but very often being able to go into a micro niche is really where it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to make a sale. I'll give you another example. Personal trainers, huge industry, very low barriers to entry, arguably. And not me, but let's say somebody who was very fit looking, they could go out and say, I'm a personal trainer. And that would be a one size fits all, sort of the one size fits all. And maybe they would do that in their location if they've got like a boot camp or something that they all run in the park in the mornings and stuff like that. But then you have people who think, okay, well, how do I niche this down a little bit more? And if they start then refining down their approach, say, you know what, I'm not a one size fits all for everybody, but what I could do is I could start niching, say, people who are engaged and due to get married in the next 6 months. So if they can start targeting those people, so that so everybody looks great on their wedding day, effectively now what they can do is they can start niching and they can start marketing themselves as, we understand the pressures of 6 months till marriage. We want to get you looking the best you can be. And then it becomes a natural sale. So if I'm getting married, I want to go and train with somebody who's come to me and says, listen, this is what we do. 6 months in, we'll have you looking in the best shape of your life, versus somebody who's just going to go out and, have me doing a park run and stuff like that. So I think really being able to look at who we are as a business, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats, a whole SWOT analysis. Even down to the people that we employ. So who is a good match for our clients to go out and speak to? If we can step back and refine that down, here's what I reckon. We can be a lot more strategic with our approaches, and because we're more strategic, it's going to make better sense and we're going to be a better fit for that target audience. And I still think that there's a hell of a lot of clients out there, a hell of a lot of businesses out there that they're just saying, okay, we're targeting this niche, and they're going and they're not being scientific, they're not being strategic about it. And what happens then is your salespeople, they don't get the same return on investment. A lot of decision makers from the client's point of view are thinking, why would I talk to you? What's the unique selling point for me to be interested in having this conversation? And there's frustration, there's stress levels, but also we don't convert as many. We certainly don't get a good return on our time invested. So I think looking at potential target audiences and identifying, okay, this could be a niche, this could be a niche, this could be a niche. What are we going to, which group are we going to approach as a micro niche? And then effectively, how are we going to reduce those obstacles to them saying yes to us? I think that's a great step in the right direction. The pool might be a whole lot smaller, but it's got to make a lot of sense from a strategic point of view. And the quick answer to this is, if anybody's sitting there thinking, well, how the hell do I identify this? Firstly, come to one of my trainings if you'd like to, or get us to come and do some training for you. That could be my first shameless plug. Or second thing is, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Look at your current client base, or ask them why they're doing business with you. What are the reasons why they're doing business with you? And very often you can start finding some degree of similarity. If you look at your client base, as you know, in some detail, you make a bit of an exercise of it, you can start figuring out what are the common denominators between my clients here. And potentially you can start finding a hook or a unique selling point that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Why? Because now you're seeing it from the client's point of view. And that can be I've seen that just unleash a huge degree of productivity in selling. Because now I've armed my salespeople with that question to answer that question, which is, from the client's point of view, why should I do business with you? If you can't tell me why I should do business with you, get out of my office here. Because it's like, if you can't answer that question, and cuz here's a terrifying thing, mate, absolutely terrifying. There are sales directors out there right now who could not give me an answer as to the question of, if I'm buying, why should I buy from you compared to your competitor? And believe it or not, I could not believe it when I heard it from one particular very experienced sales director. Just couldn't tell me. It's like, if you don't know, how the hell are your team going to build value around your unique selling points and charge the price point that you want? And we didn't do business after that because I think I asked a lot of questions he couldn't answer. So there we go. How to Lose Business 101 by Paul Harrison. Does that resonate what I'm talking about there, mate?
It does. It does. Obstacles are like roadblocks. Yeah. As far as but the way I see it, obstacle is a roadblock. Maybe not physical, could be physically, but it's something that's just going to be in the way. And absolutely. So, like, to your point, you want to be targeting people. So, or approaching prospects who have got the least amount of obstacles. Like you said, if you're selling flowers, there's no point going seeing a cladding company. There's too much there in the way. The least amount of obstacles to start with. And I would suggest that you want to get them out of the way as soon as possible up front. You want to try and diffuse that bomb, so to speak, because otherwise, if you brush over it, it can really come back to stop you at the bottom end. It'll be immovable at the bottom end because you haven't addressed it up front. And getting that out of the way first, manner of different techniques, can also help you become more liked, more well-known, more respected by the prospect right out the gate, especially if it's someone you're just meeting. Right out the gate, it'll give you that edge. And then once you're through that, then objections come later. So objections is more, I think, objections to what you're telling them as opposed to what they currently think. And like you always say, discovery is way better than disclosure. So running them through that path, talking to them, asking them questions. Like if you were to ask me, why should I buy from you instead of your competitors? Well, I don't know, what kind of things do you need? What kind of things are they giving you? What kind of things aren't they giving you?
Yeah.
You start with that. Well, they currently give us this, and this, and they don't give us this. Well, okay, so why is that important to you?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you're getting them to tell you their problems, try and solve their problems, as well as learning on the same time about stuff that can give you a good selling point. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, that discovery versus disclosure aspect is so powerful. I mean, we train it up classically in terms of coaching. If I want to empower a team member or a team of people, very often when we're training, leadership on coaching, realizing that questions are more powerful than statements. So discovery is more powerful than disclosure. And it really is, when you get very, very good at it, it's you're able to ask questions that get people to discover that you are the best solution, or they come up with their ideas to move forward if you're doing a coaching aspect there. Yeah, and remember so often as well, and I think it's perfectly normal that this happens. It just doesn't serve us. As a lot of leadership, we're talking, or even salespeople, we're telling people why they should buy from us. It's like if you're just saying to me, Paul, you need to buy this, this, and this. I'm thinking, guys, I'm filtering everything through my perception, which is you don't know my business better than I do. You are just trying to sell me something. You got commission breath. You're thinking about your next holiday to Bali. All of this stuff, quite appropriate that, and effectively, I'm watering down what you're saying through my perception of things. But if you are asking questions and allowing me to discover that you are the best solution, using things like pre-frames as well, which we can come on to, but effectively, if we can do that, then you start winning hearts and minds through any form of communication, be that a committed buyer or be that a committed team member. And it's a beautiful concept. It really is. The ability to ask world-class questions to unlock those thought processes, very powerful. Another little thing that you've just identified there, which I think is absolutely massive, mate, is people buy from people who educate them. If you're teaching me something, if you sit down with me, if you're selling something and you sit down with me and you tell me how I can run my business better, or you open my eyes to a new idea and I get that aha moment, that breakthrough moment, it's like, firstly, you make me, now I feel really understood, which is going to significantly increase your credibility in my eyes. But secondly, there's that insight that I want to do business with you. People buy from people who educate them. I think salespeople going in, if you can provide an aha moment for somebody else, for your prospective client, I think that the ability to really answer that question of why should I buy from you rather than somebody else, I think that gets answered very quickly, which is cool.
Look, I couldn't agree more, because people want to buy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're buying stuff every day.
Yeah.
They just don't want to feel like they're getting sold to.
Absolutely.
Don't you hate that? Like, I hate it when someone, well, okay, so maybe hate's a bad word, but I do not like it when I feel like someone's telling me and constantly just talking. I prefer I can make up my own mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if you reverse that role a little bit, if I'm asking you questions and getting you to tell me about yourself and why you want this and why you need this, then you're working towards a better outcome. You're basically selling it for yourself. You're convincing yourself that you need it, so you feel like you've brought it. And making sure that as a salesperson, you're focused on your client's outcome.
Absolutely.
It's got to be what's best for them. It's like you've got to be in it for them. And unfortunately, it might be a no. You have to get used to that as a salesperson, and you've got to get used to hearing no.
Yeah.
Can be a gateway, but understanding that, like you said earlier, a lot of you want all your clients to make every sale, close every sale, but it's not always going to happen for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah.
So getting used to that, but making sure that they leave with the best possible outcome you could have got for them, and on good terms with you, because you never know what's going to be down the road.
Absolutely.
They need your service. And you've built that trust and that understanding, that credibility. When the time comes, if if their journey changes and they need to come back and see you, phone call they make.
Absolutely, because I would completely agree with that. And again, I think I know I've said this to a lot of my salespeople, but the best salespeople out there in the world are selling for the best outcomes for clients. So, and because I go into a little bit of sort of framing that up, but that is logical. We know that salespeople should always be selling for best outcomes for clients. But again, I believe the best of them are. But the problem that raises, now, the thing is, I push this hard, but the problem that raises is when you have a salesperson who doesn't have very many other options, and there's not a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and that can very often cause that desperation mentality. That's maybe a new term, desperation mentality. Yeah, got to take a note of that one. But
at least you stumble on your words partway through the podcast. I'll get out of the way right up front, mate. You know what you're dealing with me right up front. I can't speak properly. I can't put words together. So there's an obstacle out of the way. That's how you do it, people.
But effectively, if the salesperson's really feeling the squeeze, then they're not going to walk away from a deal that is better served by somebody else. Let's just say, which is the reality, I think, of a lot of business out there. I really do. But this is this is why, again, it's so important to be able to keep a pipeline full, a big pipeline, and you're doing something. If you have a business, like a lot of my clients have great marketing departments, you're leaning onto those marketing departments, they're creating leads for you. That's awesome. If you're the lead generator and the salesperson, you sort of write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, act the theme tune, all of that stuff, then there's a lot of benefit in learning how to market and create leads for yourself. And guerrilla marketing as well, strategic marketing. Guerrilla marketing is probably the wrong term for me to use, but very strategic joint ventures maybe could be a good option as well. I'm looking at a few joint ventures moving forward with people who have clients who be the same clients as mine, same decision makers. And if I can join a joint venture with them to add more value to prospective clients for me, current clients for them, then we're on to a winner there as well. People get to know about your services and sort of that unique selling point as well.
That's right. A little bit of cooperation can go a long way, yeah?
Yeah.
And maybe people get caught in the bubble a lot and see all their competition as enemy as well, when it doesn't have to be.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You can learn off them. What are they doing that I'm not? Or how are they doing these things different from me? But B, even like a collaboration.
Yeah.
A one-off thing or an ongoing thing. How, a lot of the time, if you don't ask the question, they might be thinking the same thing. So yeah, it's always a great idea.
Absolutely. And the other thing is to realize as well that they may soon well be co-workers of yours as well.
Yes, true. Old mate Chris Voss gets obstacles out of the way up front pretty well with his accusation audit.
Yeah.
With that theory of doing that, getting, I think he calls it getting the ugly out first. A lot of lawyers do it.
Getting the sting out. Yeah, getting the sting out first. Yeah.
Yeah, getting it out of the way in the open. So if you know that there's a big obstacle or a big objection coming from the other side, probably some common ones, you can get those out of the way up front. Geez, I know, you're not probably going to like to hear this, but I know it's a lot of money. Kind of pre-framing this, or, it's probably not the right time to be doing this, but you're going to think I'm a jerk for saying this. But so when you have that kind of approach, I think it gives you credibility up front because it shows that you're willing to face things that other people might brush over. You're willing to get it away out front. You can be trusted with these things. You understand the other person and what's going on.
Yeah.
Kind of put you both on the same page. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Absolutely perfect sense. And you know what else it does for you, mate, is getting this thing out of it, particularly with bad feelings towards each other. It's been conflict in the past, which I think he alludes to a lot of the time.
Yeah.
If you can't get that out of the water, if you can't get that objection away, or that negative preconceived idea that somebody might have about you, if you can't get that out the way, you're not getting a return on your time invested. So if there's somebody who I try and negotiate with, or I want to do business with, and they say to me, listen, Paul, I have a feeling that they don't like me for whatever reason, or they don't like my reputation, or they don't like whatever, South Africans, or I don't know, what have you, people who miss out on jiu-jitsu workshops and stuff like that.
Yes.
But if I can't get that out the way, then guess what? I'm going to save my breath for cooling my porridge, okay? Because I'm not going to get a return on my time invested there. So if it's like, listen, Paul, we really don't like you, we don't want to work with you, this, that, the next thing, it's like, that's cool. Okay, I get that. And I'd rather know about it now than after I've invested 20, 30, 40 hours in putting together a pitch. Yep. I'll tell you where I see this a hell of a lot, and I think it's very underhanded. But salespeople got to learn to deal with it, and we've got to be able to be proactive with this, is when you have particularly bigger ticket stuff, 6 figures, 7 figure stuff, and you have people going out, you have these companies going out and doing a price. They'll go out every month, every year when the contract renews, and they'll go out and they'll do a price comparison between the incumbent and then potential other suppliers. And what they're doing is they a lot of the time they don't have a significant intention to be able to leave the incumbent. So what they'll do is they'll go to tender, and if the best price, then they'll go back to the incumbent and say, listen, beat that price. It's like, yeah, I get it. I know it happens in business, and there'll be people listening to this who will call that quite savvy, and I can get that as well. But I think the onus is very much on the salespeople, business development execs, or the world-class problem solvers to be able to get an idea of how to deal with that. Because if you're not dealing with that, and you don't have, you've got no traction there at all, you've got no idea what you're going to do to win the business, you're going to invest 20, 30, 40 hours of leadership time, senior management time to put a tender together, only for the incumbent, the client, to go back and say, listen to the incumbent, this is a better price, get it done, and come back and see us. And, it happens in business, and we can debate the morality of it, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to be able to figure out, okay, so how do we actually deal with this? If this is going to be a situation, you need to have a pretty good idea of what it's going to take to win the business. And the way we do that is we understand their motivating factors. We understand how to pre-frame a lot of the stuff. We have some upfront agreements that we, if it's a sizable amount of work, but we have to be prepared to ensure that that if we achieve A, B, and C, we have a better chance than not of getting the business. And I tell you this, a lot of salespeople, they get upset with, they don't deal with this up front. They are hoping that the client will just say, okay, you got the best price, you go with it. And then they get angry with the client when they get price matched. And it's like, yeah, I understand from both sides. I really do. I understand from the salesperson's point of view, and I understand from the buyer's point of view. The fact of the matter is a professional is going to be able to identify there's a high likelihood of this. We're pretty sure that we could be a pretty good match for you. But what we want to be able to do is make sure that if we get what you're really after, then we have an agreement to move forward on this. Okay. And how you do that, you would frame it up in certain ways. Also, again, very much understanding their buying process on their side. But folks, listen, we can't get angry with people when they do something we haven't asked them not to do it. And if we're just presenting terms and then hope that it comes through, it's a rough go.
That's right.
Although there are some businesses that I've worked with before who know that they get maybe 1 in 10 quotes. So 1 in 10 proposals they put forward, they'll win one of them. So they put 10 proposals through, they'll win one of them. That's their numbers, and they just go through and quote on these things as well. So depending on the dynamics of the industry, I think a lot of the time, if they know they get a 10% conversion rate and they set up their business along those lines, and that's fine as well. But we can't get angry with the client if they do something we haven't asked them not to do.
That's right. Yeah, it sounds a bit like in the building industry. I term it as a race to the bottom, where you go for, it's probably not all. The old general rule of thumb was get 3 quotes, take the middle one.
The middle one,
yeah, always take the middle one. But then you end up with, like you're saying, savvy businesses where they'll go, or savvy clients where they'll go to 3 or 4 businesses, and they'll just go for the cheapest, and they'll ask the other ones to match it. But you don't realize that they've left out certain items, or they haven't done it to the spec that you've required. They've given you your base rate. So, and you get this really good looking quote on paper because it's, percentage wise, a lot less than the other ones. No one else can match it. And then you realize you end up with an inferior product.
Absolutely.
That ended up costing you more in the long run. So,
because this is the responsibility of the salesperson. I'm convinced of this. From a buyer's point of view, what sales, and you've heard, we've all heard me talk about this, and you've talked about this as well. But as a world-class problem solver, you have to be able to articulate, firstly, why you're charging what you're charging and the value that you bring to that. But secondly, that you have to realize the client doesn't know what you know. And you know the cost to the client if they go with the cheapest option, particularly in something like construction where there's a high degree of health and safety and stuff like that, that we have to be aware of. But in that situation, it's like, effectively, it's as a salesperson, you would never bash the competition. I hope you don't need to bash the competition, but that you have to realize the client doesn't know what you know, and therefore you need to be able to build the perceived value that you bring truthfully, honestly, and ethically. And secondly is you have to be able to make the client aware of what is the cost of going with the cheapest alternative, because the client doesn't know what you know. And this is the big mistake. You've heard me say it before, where I think salespeople severely underestimate that value they bring to the table. But here's the thing, because they underestimate the value, you have two salespeople who sell into one buyer. Neither of them can build value in a good way, in a really strong way, or more specifically, build perceived value. So understanding the strengths that we have as a business, but then aligning those with this person's view of the world and communicating in a way that resonates. If they're incapable of doing that, the bottom line becomes the price. And if the client doesn't know the difference between solution A and solution B, because the salesperson or the world-class problem solver hasn't solved it, now it just becomes about price. And it's how it happens. I see it all the time. We can't get angry with a client because the client doesn't know. As long as they're playing a straight back with us, it's like they don't know what we know. And this is why it's so important to get clients to see the value that they bring and see themselves legitimately as world-class problem solvers, not as salespeople.
That's right. I mean, many times I was approached, by builders or private individuals saying, can you quote this for me? Can you build this house for me? Can you give me a price on all the carpentry in here? And it'd just be off a set of architectural drawings, which is just all the pretty stuff. This is what the house looks like. And I'd say, well, where's the engineerings? And engineering drawings, if anyone doesn't know, engineerings is the bones, the frame of the house. It's all the walls, it's all the stumps, the foundations, the steel in it. And they'd tell me, oh, we don't have engineerings. You don't need to see the engineerings. The other guys that we got to quote it didn't need the engineerings. They just gave us a flat rate. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. I don't know if there's not steel in there. I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. So I can't tell you.
Yeah.
And they'd get upset. Can't you just give me a base rate, mate? I'm like, I don't do that. I just don't do that. I'm sorry. Appreciate you coming. I don't do that. The amount of times they then come back to me and say, can you re-quote this? Can you have a look at it now? I've got the engineerings, because the other guy, he said 10,000, but there's a lot of steel and he can't do it. He can't do it for 10 grand because he's going to charge an extra 5 or 6 grand. I'm like, well, now that I've got the engineerings, I'll happily quote it for you. And I'll talk you through what I think it needs, and I'll show you any potential problems that's coming up, but you've got to give me some time to look at it. So being honest with people as well, and making sure that, you stick to your own standards and your integrity, making sure it's your reputation first. But it comes back to making sure you're just paying attention to what's going on, and making sure they've got the right information, and you've got the right information to provide it with them, because, sometimes they try and pull the wool over your eyes, and you end up in a position you don't want to be.
Do you reckon they try to pull your wool over your eyes, or do you reckon that they just don't know the detail that you need, that you need before to make the quote, to put the quote up?
Some developers and some builders, definitely they're trying to pull.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's a the caveat on that is, if it's a builder there's a lot of builders out there and developers who just do the exact same thing, which is a brilliant system.
Yeah.
It's like they're just making sausages.
Gotcha.
They know exactly what's going in.
Yeah.
There's none of this. They can stand there and tell you all about it because they've done it so many times. So those guys, no problems at all. Is there any steel in it? Yeah, there's usually steel here. This is this. And they'll tell you. They'll be right up front. Other guys are like, well, what do you need to know that for? And you can pretty much pick it up straight away because, you're a world-class problem solver. You're an expert in this. And you can read their body language and something's going on. You used to do a lot of what I call private clients, which is not builders or anything. It's just, average couple looking to get a house done or anything, and they don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's where you've got to educate them. You've got to teach them. Whether they buy from you or not, it's a different story, but I always saw it as it's my responsibility to make sure these people have all the information they need to make that decision.
100%.
Because that's only fair. And the outcome's on them. I've got enough work to keep going. And that's just the way I approach things.
Here's the thing as well, and I like that aspect, because, and just to reiterate, salespeople or business to world-class problem solvers, we are selling an outcome.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
there will be people on here who go, no, I'm selling a product or service. Yeah, okay, I get that. I really do. But the client wants to buy an outcome. There's the old saying of, if you go to the hardware store to buy a drill, you're not really buying a drill, you're buying a hole in the wall to hang the picture on maybe. And it's like, if I can think about what is the ideal outcome that the client is after here and really get that idea, and then thinking, okay, listen, there's certain things that let me explain this to you, let me share this with you, let me give you this insight, if it's so you can make a more informed decision on this, then we can take that approach. But I'm convinced of this, maybe, and actually maybe because that is the disconnect between salespeople and buyers. Buyers are buying an outcome they've got in their heads. Salespeople think they're selling a product or service.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Before I learned, that's what I would do before I learned about how that was a thing. I'm trying to get, and this is completely accidental, people, so don't go thinking I'm Guzzy the philosopher or anything like that, the psychologist. No. If you think about it in terms of what I did for my career in building, I'm selling you your vision of what you want your house to look like.
Yeah.
If I don't understand that, but now it's reasonably easy, because all you've got to do is put it on paper, get a couple of shots out of magazines that you want, and we can make that work. But I've got to find that vision. So I was able to take you from where you are in your house now, or wherever you are in your, and figure out what your vision was, and then get you there, or tell you how to get you there, which is basically what you mean, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's very important. It's and understanding that you're the subject matter expert. Here's an objection. I need to think about it. You've been with this client, you've told them all, and they go, I need to think about it. And I'm like, cool, sweet. I'm happy for you to think about it. But here's the thing. You need information to think about it. So, and I've got all the information. And if I don't have the information, I'll be on the phone to the technical department to get it. So I'm happy for you to think and take your time, because I want the outcome for you. But just tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Because you don't need time to think. You need information to make a decision.
Absolutely.
So I don't care if this isn't for you, then I want to know that, because I don't want to sell it to you.
Yeah.
Because it's wrong for you. But ask me the question, and they'll go, gee, I don't know. I'm still here. So it's along those lines. Yeah, Paulie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that certainly can be a point. I think that there are also maybe people who are a little bit more reflective thinkers. And I can certainly see that as well. I think that the big thing to be thinking about as well is, what is the cost associated with not taking the action? What is the potential reward with taking an action as well?
Yes.
Just from a salesperson's point of view. And when I say that, I'm not talking about discounts if you say yes now or something like that. I mean, I know people utilize it, but I would just, again, creating that communications empathy, which is understanding that view of the world from your target audiences, through their eyes. But making people aware of what is the potential cost of not taking action versus if you do take action, the benefits there.
Yeah.
Because I think you do get some reflective types as well. Yeah.
Oh, of course. But making sure they've got all the information that you can give them, that's probably the one of the best ways to go. And then, they're going to buy from you if they know about you, if they like you, if they trust you.
Yeah.
So,
if you've taught them something as well.
And if you've taught them something, you've been educated them. Yeah.
I've actually heard that about people recruiting people as well. So particularly entrepreneurs. And I think this came from Hormozy, but he was talking, I think it was actually Layla, or it was one of the two. But they said, I won't employ somebody as a specialist in an area if I don't learn something from them in the interview. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You alluded to it before. No, the word no. when a prospect or a client is no, dealing with that is something that salespeople have to get used to, because it's part of the job. Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you can deal with when someone says no? Because there's I guess the classic one is if I say to you, hey, have you got time to talk about this now?
Yeah.
And they say no, you can go, okay, when's a good time for you? There's always that kind of comeback. But getting used to dealing with no and rejection, apart from being an ugly teenager, Harrison?
Mate, when Eternal Flame came on at the school discos, I was well against the wall. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody dancing with you, Paul. Go out and have another cup of Fanta, mate. Yeah. Ugly.
So learning to deal with rejection, because I mean, as a salesperson, you're going to have these kind of conversations 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So you've got to get used to it. You've got to be comfortable with what you're selling. You've got to be comfortable with it, knowing everything about it, but you've also got to be comfortable because, like you said, you're not going to get every sale. It's not always going to be successful, regardless of what everyone will tell you. So dealing with rejection and handling no, what are some of your strategies or technique around that?
So a couple of aspects on that, Cuz. Firstly, I think hearing the statement no, I don't think too many people have a problem with that. What I do think they have a problem with is the feeling of rejection that comes with it. So hearing no is one thing. Feeling the rejection that comes with it is another. Now, here is an aspect I think that very often is a big problem. If salespeople are not, they don't know the unique selling point, they don't know why the client would buy from them, they can't articulate that clearly and concisely on point like that, then that no becomes a lot more painful, because it's almost like you're just drudging through no's to get a yes. But if I'm truly sold on what I'm selling and I hear a no from someone, that's fine, because there's already some degree, I know that I'm adding some degree of value here, but maybe it's just not a good fit, or it's not the right time, or what have you. So I think that is a big thing. I really do. If the person is aligned, if the salesperson is aligned with what they're selling, and they know why this would make logical sense and why the client would want to speak to them in theory to start with, then a no becomes a whole lot easier, because at least then you're not, it's not personal. Then it's not personal. People say don't take it personally, but we all, well, certainly, I think we all take it personally on some degree, particularly starting out. Maybe over time it becomes easier to deal with. The second thing is, as I've got to be very clear on this, is if somebody says no to me because I'm asking for something, in this case I'm asking for a little bit of their time so I can share with them something A, B, and C, okay? If somebody says no to me, the natural thought process is, oh, they're just not interested in helping me, or they're just bad news, or that the next thing, the next thing. What they're really saying to you, though, is the way you framed that up has not made it a high enough priority for me to say yes to you. The way you framed that up as a cold call, the way you framed that up has not made it a high enough priority for me to say yes to you. So the buyer, and I have this all the time, and I know you get these messages as well, because people hitting you up on email or social media or something like that saying, listen, I want to pick your brains over a particular thing. Would you meet me in the CBD and I'll buy you a coffee? It's like, listen, mate, not being bad news here, not being a difficult person, but I'm absolutely busy. You're busy to a level where we're doing a podcast on a Sunday. That's a level of busy that we are. If I have to go through and have a coffee, that means from working in my offices, I have to go out, get changed, travel through to the city, sit down for an hour with this person who wants to pick my brain for the cost of a coffee. Yes, I can buy my own coffee, okay, which is nice, which is awesome. But tell me how I'm going to benefit from it. And again, this makes me sound like an arrogant South African, maybe, okay, maybe. But if you're not giving people a reason how it's going to positively impact them, you're going to be met with a lot more no's than you are yeses. And here's the thing, people can't get out of their own way. We can't see, for all the talk of empathy or communications empathy, all these beautiful things that we say, it's not true. People don't have empathy. They're trying to get their needs met to some degree. And especially before we become aware of this type of stuff, and we come to some training to learn to develop the stuff, people are looking for that answer. If I don't know you and I owe you nothing, why would I say yes to taking out 3 hours of my day when I'm busy, so busy that I'm working on the weekend? Why would I do that? And people now think, oh, well, Paul, that's not nice for you to say. Maybe it's confronting, but if you can tell me how it's going to benefit me, then absolutely. But this is the situation. People, and I get this at every workshop, particularly the boot camps, the 2-day boot camps we put together. It's how do you start initiating those initial conversations? If you want to start initiating those conversations with me, you tell me how it's going to positively impact me. Tell me how you, as a subject matter expert, are going to be able to tell me what my competition are utilizing as best practice. You know what? Now, as a competitive business owner or department head of department, now I can find time, because now it's just become a little bit more of a priority. But people are not thinking like this. They are not thinking, okay, what would I need to say truthfully, honestly, and ethically to allow the target audience to see a return on their time invested? Because you're not trying to get hold of the village idiot here. You're trying to get hold of somebody who is successful in what they do. They're probably making a lot of money. They have got a lot of demands in their time. So if you start thinking along the lines of that beautiful word empathy that we talk about, or the term I use, communications empathy, which is seeing the world through your target audience's eyes, now you're in a much better position to be able to think, okay, what can I do for this person that's going to ensure that we could it's going to be a lot more appealing for them to have a conversation with them. And there could be a lot of things you can bring to the table when you start thinking in a different way. And it's so beautiful. It really is, man. It's so beautiful. When people start thinking like that, it's a good thing. I'll tell you, actually, I'll give you an example. There's a guy called Daniel Priestley. Daniel Priestley? I think it's Daniel Priestley. Yeah, in the UK. He's an Aussie guy, and he's got his whole story that he went to the UK with a credit card and a suitcase or something like that. And he's a great guy. He gives away a lot of great content and stuff like that. And he did a lot of speaking and stuff like that. Great guy. Puts a lot of good content, phenomenal content out there. And when he arrived in the UK, I think he was young, man. I think he was like 22, 23, 24, something like that, but a young guy. And he wanted to get into a particular industry. I think it was the events industry. So he thought, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. He took out his credit card, and he organized a dinner, like a networking dinner for, I think, like 15, 20 people. But here's what he did. It was at a nice venue. He invited all of the who's who in that area, and invited them all to a 3-course dinner. Nice. So it was nice profile. There was networking, meet and greets, all that stuff. And what he was able to do, he had a captive audience there of maybe 10, 15 people that were all serious players in the market. And effectively, they all got a great opportunity to go out and network with each other in a nice place in London and looking all swish. And he got a platform to present what he wanted to do, because obviously he's coordinating the whole thing. Now he's well connected with everybody. Wrote a fair amount of business off the back of that, or off those joint ventures. And that's the way you need to be thinking. I'm not saying you need to go and take out a credit card and go and get into debt to do this. And I don't know what his financial situation was like at the time, but effectively thinking about, how can I give value to these people so that they can give me some time? And that's the thought process. That's not how people are thinking right now. They're really, really not. And if they want to become world-class with this, and they want to get more yeses than they get nos, I think start answering that question with the question that's going through your target audience's mind, which is WIIFM. What's in this for me? Why must I give you my time? And folks, again, before you start thinking I'm being selfish or any other term you'd want to throw at me, you're wanting to get hold of successful people, busy people. You have to give them a reason how they're going to get a return on their time invested. And this is going to challenge you to think in a different way. And once you start thinking like that, what you look at changes very quickly. And it's a great place to be, and you build great relationships as well. Because I'll tell you another thing. And I'm sure we've all been in the situation before, but if you have a meeting with someone and they think they're going to get some value from it, and they don't, particularly if they're busy, that's going to cause a huge amount of conflict, because very, very busy people know they don't get their time back. Money will come, money will go, but time doesn't. Time just goes. So just a mindful aspect on that, folks.
Yeah. I used to get it all the time when I was on the tools. I mean, I'm still on the tools. When I was working for myself, I used to get it all the time. People would ring and say, hey, I've got this for you. Can you come around? Can you come and see it now? And you're like, I can't. And they're like, why not? Don't you want the work? I'm like, I've got so much on.
Yeah.
So I'm not just sitting here waiting for you to call me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got on pretty early that if I just sit there waiting for people to call, no one calls. So you got to go out and chase it. So you're actively chasing the next job, doing this job, chasing the invoices from the last job, getting materials. You've got so much on your plate.
Yeah.
And well, why can't you come now? What about Sunday? Why can't you come Sunday? What about this? It was demanding, and it's
wow.
there's as a small business owner, you don't want to say no.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. So you got to try
Yeah.
and say yes. So it's a balancing act of, oh man, come on. But like you said, if someone says to you, hey, listen, meet me in the city for a coffee, I've got this to show you. I haven't got time for that, mate. Like
Yeah.
you said, we're doing a podcast on a Sunday morning because it's the only time we can fit it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you were to say, you won't have much luck with that, but you might have more luck with the approach of, hey, listen, Paul, I know you're a busy guy and I know you've got a lot on. I've got something that I'm training people that I think you might want to have a look at. Where can I meet you? At
Yeah.
what time can I grab 5 minutes off you? Even if it's just over a coffee or something, or in a car park after a meeting, whatever. I just want 5 minutes to run this by you. And if it's not worth it, don't worry about it. But if
Absolutely.
then, if it's something that catches your attention, we can go from there.
Yeah.
At least be willing to put a lot out there to see that the person's, that you're offering it to, that
Yeah.
they can see, hey, this guy's got a bit invested in here. He's not just demanding of me. He wants to give me something. And he's willing to go out of his way to show me.
Yeah.
So that tells you something as well. Yeah. That's what you're getting at, right?
Absolutely perfect. And it's again, it's until we've built, until they've got some skin in the game with us, it's like we can expect nothing. We might make it as easy as possible for them to consume what we want to take and see the value. And I'll tell you actually a quick point on that. We're running a webinar lunch and learn training on the 21st of October.
Yes.
And what this is all about is selling into a harder market, because with the market getting harder now, there's a lot of people who are getting absolutely squished with regards to, the sellers. Their funds are coming tighter, and there's more pressure on money and stuff like that. And a lot of salespeople don't know how to deal with this. So effectively, what we're running is a 45-minute lunch and learn webinar. Now, what I said on that in my marketing for it, putting it out there, is it's free. It's 45 minutes, and here's my promise. I don't even think I pushed this, but I said what they would learn. But what they're going to walk away with will be game-changing stuff, I promise you, because it's mistakes I see people making on the regular in class. But here was the other thing. I said that a lot of the training I'm going to be providing will be strategic and it'll be tactical. Okay, so that, I mean, when I say tactical, it's like you're the frontline salesperson. What are you going to say to get the outcome you're after? But from a strategic point of view, it might be something that you can revamp your entire division or company's approach over to get a better return on the time invested for the salespeople and a better bang for your buck with what you do. So I said to them, listen, be on it live, because the vast majority of people would only run those. They would say they're live, and maybe they'd record them, maybe they wouldn't, I don't know. But they want to get as many people on, particularly if they're going to make a sale at the end of it. I'm not going to make a sale as well. But then I said, listen, anybody who registers, because get your senior leadership on here as well, because maybe they can help you with the strategic shifts within the business if needed, if it's appropriate. And then I said, it will be recorded, so any registers are going to get they'll get a copy of it as well. So that's just because I know now that there are people who interact with me and they have connections to their senior level decision makers. And maybe they're the ones who are on the front line. They're getting the no's. They see a strategic approach, but they don't exactly know how to be able to sell that idea to their senior management. So if they get their senior management to watch it as well, then hopefully they'll have somebody who will support them with that change to ultimately get those easier sales, more people say yes to you, and less pressure on your margins as well.
Yes. The times are tough. We're starting to toughen up.
Yeah.
At the moment, a lot of people sharpening up their pencils and what.
Yeah, absolutely.
And times have been pretty good for a long time. And in terms of selling, people have been buying. And I think that in good times, you don't like to do the hard work. You get a bit comfortable. You can let things slide a little bit.
Yeah.
So, if things are starting to turn, it's always a good time to try and sharpen up things and get them, get the bad habits out of the way, get back to basics, make sure you're doing everything, get all the foundation stuff right to make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity to be at the front when you're selling. So
absolutely.
And not waiting to, wanting that change, not sitting in your comfort zone going, oh, geez, what are we supposed to do here?
Yeah.
Get out there and chase it,
Mate, if you've just got deals jumping in the boat, that's not selling. It really isn't. I think we need, I want, particularly my clients, I want them lean and hungry. for which I know is ironic coming from me, but I do fast from time to time, just so we know we've got half of that right. But effectively is if we are lean and hungry and we're consistently working on those skill sets, there are industries where clients have to buy. They just need to know who they're going to buy from. And if we've got better techniques, got better skills, we can sell truthfully, honestly, and ethically, keep focused on those better outcomes for clients. It doesn't mean it's going to be an easy sale, but it's going to mean it's easier than what's going on at the moment.
Yes. So it's good to keep on top of that and always keep learning.
Absolutely.
Paulie, thank you very much. That hopefully given quite a few people some insight into a few of the objections and obstacles and stuff they may face, tactics, some strategies around it.
Yeah.
As always, any questions, open up. The big fella here will answer them for you. I can't put my words together today, so I'll leave it.
Well, it is a Sunday, mate. This is a Sunday. It's been a big week, so there we go.
Yeah. Still got so much to do, but that's a different story. And I'm always keen for a coffee. So if you hit me up for a coffee, I will make time somehow, somewhere. Beautiful. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, best of luck out there. Paulie, have a good week. Thank you for your time, my bro.
Thanks so much, my man. I really appreciate it. Even on a Sunday.
Always on a Sunday.
Have a good day, legend.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.
Thanks so much, folks. Really appreciate it.